And thanks for staying tuned. Of course, it's Rise and Shine, the Thursday edition, and we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria, of course. And we've hit tidbits of global news brought to us on the News Brief desk this morning. But we'll be moving quickly to our interview segment this morning as we have Dr. Peter Ogudoro, who himself is an education expert of very high esteem this morning, joining us to talk about some of the issues we've been seeing in the education sector. As of yesterday, 18 university campuses were shut down by the NUC over fake degrees. This morning alone, about 4 to 6 more names have been named, added to that, and we're going to be looking at this and how it is going to affect education in Nigeria going forward, and what's the best possible way out of this educational menace. Good morning, Dr. Peter Ogudoro. Really good to have you on the show this morning.
My pleasure to join you on the show. Happy New Year.
A very happy new year to you, sir. Of course, we're talking education, really serious issues. The numbers and the names are alarming. Yesterday, about 18 universities, foreign universities, were closed down in the country. What are your thoughts generally before we get down to the nitty-gritty of the conversation?
Well, again, it reflects the very problematic education system we have in our country. Young Nigerians are seeking access to higher education, and as a country, we are not meeting their needs. Out of every 10 young Nigerians who want to go to university and have the academic credentials to be able to access higher education, you don't find us meeting the needs of up to 5 out of every 10. And so that number that we are not able to serve adequately, we'll continue to seek ways of attending to that need because society has presented university degree as a major tool for achieving good quality life. Whether that is true or not is a different conversation we need to have. But with that understanding of what a degree can do, everybody wants it. And since Nigeria is not, by the way we have designed our system, able to meet those needs, our young people are going everywhere in the world to be able to get it. Those who have money, the rich and the mighty, are sending their children to Canada, America, and United Kingdom. And those who don't have money but are desperate to get the same thing that everybody needs to be able to move forward by the way society has, presented it. Now I think they can go to Benin Republic, to Ghana, to Togo, and some even to Cameroon to get it. And that's how we got to where we are. But that's a very unfortunate situation for us because I also know that some of the universities involved in this matter are also legitimate universities that are accredited in their countries and are probably rendering good quality education. But because Nigerians have penetrated the system, you now find that one bad, egg is going to spoil the entire, basket of eggs, and that's going to be very unfortunate because some of the people who have gone through these places are also people who probably worked hard to earn their degrees. But with this development, the perception we are getting is that everybody who is associated with those kinds of places is somebody who has cheated to get a degree. So we must be careful how we're managing it so that we don't throw away the child with the bathwater.
That's a really big concern, Dr. Gudoro, that you raised this morning. Now, one of the biggest questions is one of the people that have passed through this system in the the last couple of years, getting a degree and a certification, is the NUC moving to render these certificates null and void. And you have raised a really pertinent angle. Some of these schools are credible universities in their various countries.
Yes, very, 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 very correct observation, that you have made there. And so we need to put it on record and emphasize it that we must be very careful how we are managing it. And I'm also aware that the federal government actually has set up a committee to carry out proper investigation into the matter. So And this action they have taken in terms of saying, let's be careful about the degrees coming from these places. I do not want to believe it amounts to saying we will never accept again in the degrees coming from those places. It's just a matter of we want some time to be able to determine what precisely happened, and then we can get back to the public with appropriate information that will guide parents and young people who want to study in those places in making appropriate decisions. So that's where we are at the moment. But I can tell you that we got here because we haven't put in place a good and reliable career management system, which helps young people in Nigeria to know where legitimate spaces are for those who want to have access to good quality higher education. Nigeria, as we speak, has enough universities if we use career management systems to create awareness regarding where higher education spaces are. The reason why young people keep feeling that they don't have adequate opportunities is because nobody is pointing them to where the opportunities are. And that's a major missing link in our education system. Not one university in Nigeria offers career management as a course. And that is a very shameful situation we have found ourselves in other climes where education is flourishing. They know that career management system is an indispensable element of what makes education to work well. But in Nigeria, what we have in some schools is what you people know as counseling units, but the regular counselor in a school, especially given the way we teach counseling in Nigeria, is not prepared in terms of skill set to be able to help young people to understand what they need to put into consideration when they're making appropriate decisions. We have enormous opportunities here to go to school. The average College of Education now, even though they offer NCE as their own degree, I'm aware those kinds of places now give opportunities for young people to even obtain degrees, which are in terms of moderation done by universities they are affiliated to. But most young people are not aware of these opportunities, and the few who are aware don't want to go to those places because everybody wants to go and sit in a place called university because of the way we have constructed university. And so, in a modern society, you no longer have to go and sit in a place called university to earn a degree. You can actually earn a degree without leaving your home. And we know that those practices are legitimate in many climes, including the United Kingdom. The Open University in the UK still has the largest number of students in the UK, and the degree they award or the degrees they award are legitimate degrees, which you can use to do PhD even in university around the world. But in our own country, we have National Open University, but we are not patronizing it as much as we should because we do not believe that good quality education can come out from there. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, but I do know that if we work hard, we can make that place truly functional. And again, publicize the opportunities that are available in colleges of education where degrees are also being awarded now via the moderated university programs that the legitimate universities are doing. So let's work hard and see if we can move in these directions, create the right awareness using appropriate career management system, and we will not have the ugly situation we have in our hands now anymore.
Very, very strong words there. This morning, we also know that part of the things that birthed this uproar with regards to fishing out the discrepancies in these over 18 universities is a certain investigation that was done by a journalist who went to, the Togo University and says under 2 weeks he was able to get a certificate and then proceed for the NYSC scheme in Nigeria. Now, when you're talking about getting credible education, even from the comfort of our homes, without going to the four walls of a university. Doctor, you are an expert where education is concerned. I would like for you to expatiate on the thoroughness of, these kinds of education because, in a bid to disabuse our minds, we believe that when we are in the four walls of a university, then the education we get is very, very thorough. And then timeliness also, the time factor. squeezing in a whole degree in a short time. In this case, I mean, 2 weeks is really laudable. How possible is that? But this is what, gave birth to the uproar that we're hearing with regards to education.
Well, I have read the report presented by the young man who did the investigation, and it does appear to me that indeed very acceptable things are happening in that system. So certainly, the people who are getting their degrees within 2 weeks there are not are not are not studying. They're just probably paying for the certificate. Those who are in Lagos, they are familiar with the Olu system, as we hear, where people just go and print certificate at the printing press and begin to brandish it and use it to get what they want. So in this case, it's very obvious that what has happened is unacceptable, it's condemnable, and we shouldn't let it. We shouldn't ignore it. We must deal with it. But that shouldn't nullify the fact that the world we live in today is no longer the world we used to live in 30, 40 years ago. As we speak, I know a group of young people who are software engineers in India who have, for example, created a university where you do all your studies online, and within 2 years you get a degree in software engineering, and that degree is accessible even in the US for master's degree programs. And from the little information I have done, some people who have studied there are even doing much better than those who have studied in conventional universities, even in the US, in terms of the quality of work that is coming out of the products of that kind of place. And I'm also aware, for example, in the United Kingdom, I'm a product of universities across the world, including University of Reading in the UK. I'm also somebody who has been privileged to study at the University of Cambridge, and I can tell you for sure that in the UK, you no longer have to go and sit down in the four walls of university to get a degree. So sometimes they have what intensive weekends, so you can keep a job and study on part. Sometimes you go only at weekend, and over a period of time, you earn your degree, and that's acceptable. But those systems are regulated, and people are not just looking for the certificate. They are seeking opportunities to acquire skills, knowledge, and the right values to be able to make useful contributions that will earn a legitimate income. But in our own country, what we know is that when good things come, you find very stupid people who go in there, study it, and try to sabotage it. So at the end of the day, they give that in a bad name, just as we say in our regular proverb that you give a dog a bad name in order to hang it. So you find 419 people all over the place who try to clone people's photos and mimic other people's websites and set up parallel opportunities that are dummies, that are Ponzi schemes, which give the impression that the legitimate things people have worked hard to set up are not what they are. But that's not the way we should be looking at this current situation. And parents should not be afraid to let their children explore new ways of getting educated. I can tell you for sure that some of the programs we run in our universities that last 4 years, probably people can finish everything in such curricula, within only 2 years, sometimes even 18 months. Even in our secondary school, I have done the research myself. What we do in senior secondary school in 3 years, we can finish in 18 months if you have the right teachers, you have the right infrastructure. I did it with my children. I pulled them out of senior secondary school when it became obvious to me that they were not getting the kind of education that I promised them as a father who is an educationist myself. And I finished that entire curriculum within 18 months, and the education they got is significantly higher than what Nigeria tries to provide within 3 years. And they are competing globally. Both of them are studying in the US, and they are at the top of their classes in many respects. So the point I'm making is that we should not begin to think that when we see novel opportunities, we shouldn't look at them just because some stupid people have gone in to mess up legitimate opportunities are available in some climes. Even in Nigeria here, if you go to University of Calabar, University of Uyo, JOS, even Unilag, you find people who, if you do proper investigation, who have also taken degrees from these places without necessarily having to work without having to work for them. So it's not peculiar to those universities in Togo and in Benin Republic. We also, if we do investigations in our country, find that there are people who are holding degrees signed by registrars of some of the universities in our country, alongside their vice chancellors, but who probably didn't invest enough time. Some of them actually maybe governors, who probably are currently serving as governors, or people who have finished serving as governors. If you go to a parliament, you might, discover there are also people who hold such diplomas, from places that are renowned, but they probably didn't work for them. We have heard about the Toronto saga before, where I think that person was even a speaker of the house at some point, who also presented something that was not authentic. So it's a bad system we have in place, and we should not be asking questions only about the universities in Togo, in Ghana, and in Benin Republic. We should also question a system that, for example, permitted this journalist and to go through NYSC the second time without preventing him to do so. Because if we have a proper system with National University, the NYSC, once you try to approach it again after you have benefited from it before, it will reject you. So the Director General of NYSC and other principal officers who are playing significant roles in Federal Ministry of Education, and whose units and offices are relevant to what we are discussing. Have we also asked them questions as to the kind of system they have put in place that have permitted somebody who passed through NYSC before to come and pass through it again and even collect, a monthly allowance? So there's so much attention focused on our side, whereas we have to ask a lot of questions about the things that are also have gone amiss in our own country. So we need to see ourselves as a country that have to start building systems that are robust and cannot be scammed the way we are seeing it now. So if we over focus on Benin Republic, we'll miss the bigger troubles that we have in our hands as a country.
Very serious conversation. But let's move into budgets, 2024 budget for education. We know that UNESCO has pegged education budgets at 15%, most of which most African countries haven't even come up to. Nigeria currently stands as about 6.34% of that 15% recommendation. Well, we've seen that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has made some, quite an increase in the funding for education this year, and we see that he intends to spend about 5.03% of his allocation for education in Nigeria in 2024. The Renewed Hope Agenda, 27.5 trillion naira total, worth of our budget for 2024. Do you think that the allocation that the president has made for education will suffice in the face of all of these realities?
Yeah, it's an open secret that the answer is no, because the budget for education is under 8%. And more critically, if you look at the budget for education, it's about 1.4 trillion naira.
Yeah, 1.54 trillion.
Yeah. So, but if you dissect it, you discover that the allocation for most of that money is for recurrent expenditure, just paying salaries and buying toilet rolls for offices, and that is not what is going to move education forward. Only about 330 billion of it will go into capital projects, and the things that they have penciled for capital projects are actually not very significant things that will move education forward. We are not seeing building of new infrastructure across universities in our country, as well as colleges of education and polytechnics. Not much has been, provided for training of teachers across all levels, from secondary school to university. And so, if we are not budgeting for serious infrastructure improvement, and then education is not going to start smiling anytime soon. And I tell you that the money we have budgeted for as capital expenditure in the education industry is significantly lower than the money that the National Assembly is going to spend on fewer than 500 people. And so the University of Lagos alone has, close to 60,000 students as we speak. Ahmadu Bello has probably a number higher than that. But we are going to spend on just about 500 people money that is more than 300 and 40 billion. And for work that nobody seems to appreciate in terms of the value is adding to us as a people. But the entire capital expenditure for education that is taking care of millions of young people is not anywhere near that. So we are very far away from where we have to be. And don't be deceived by the fact that you are hearing trillion. The reason why you're hearing trillion now is because the naira has become, a crying baby. It's very weak at the moment. So if you translate that into dollars, so you'll find that we are now budgeting up to $1.5 billion for education for this year. That kind of money is laughable. Harvard University, is that is the money they will spend on probably not up to 3,000 students, and that's what you're budgeting to spend on over 50 million children and young people in Nigeria's education system. And that's very problematic, very shameful, very scandalous. So we shouldn't be mentioning the trillion because the trillion is in the context of the weak currency we have in our hands. That is not money when you translate it to currencies that have power. So to answer your question directly, I'm ashamed, to be a citizen of a country that is yet to recognize that education is an indispensable tool for accelerating development anywhere in the world. I'm also very ashamed of the fact that the politicians are training their children abroad and ignoring the need to put more money and effort into providing good quality education that can help us to resolve most of our national problems. Because if you continue to ignore education and you continue to waste money on politicians, for that long will you continue to brew more security challenges for yourself? Because we need to train our people to become good quality thinkers. At the moment, the education system we have in place is an education system that is over investing in getting people to acquire certificates without helping people to learn how to think. So the average Nigerian teacher is trained to teach children what to think and not how to think. And you cannot produce great inventors with the kind of education system we have in place, where most of the teachers can't even define learning, and they're the ones standing in classroom to teach our children. And so we need to declare a state of emergency here, not the way we have always said it just to attract media attention. We need to recognize that indeed we are not doing well as a people, and these other things we are chasing are not going to move us forward. Education is the starting point. All the
All
countries that
right.
have moved forward across the world started from taking education very seriously.
We need to take education seriously. And one of the moves that the Tinubu-led administration is seeking to do is an investment of 100 billion naira in a school feeding program to take out-of-school children out of the street back to the classroom. What are your thoughts with regards to this 100 billion naira earmarked as a school feeding program? They hope that that caters and takes children off the street and back to the classrooms.
Well, I do not like to get involved in the things that politicians do. But in the last maybe a few days, not up to a week now, the relevant ministry and agency that was responsible for, taking care of people in this kind of situation who can feed, who are living in poverty. We saw them spend several billions, um, spend in quotes, but we are hearing that most of that money ended up in private pockets. And the federal government itself has acknowledged that indeed corruption has been established in those relevant agencies, and they have sacked, I think, the coordinator of that agency, who was probably who superintended the disbursement of such money. So if that is what we have recently discovered, why are we putting more money into that kind of project? We know we don't have a system that makes it work in Nigeria. So all this whole idea of feeding children giving them food for free. It's not going to work. We don't have a system that will make it work. Politicians use these platforms to get money out of federal coffers, which they plug into the campaigns for the next election. And so, if you ask me, I wouldn't do that, because that is not Nigeria's fundamental problem. If we do appropriate public relations for education, and parents can see very clearly that education, once you get the right knowledge and skills, you can get jobs that will uplift your family. They will be the ones making the sacrifice to ensure that their children go to school, and they will find a way to feed their children to send them to school. But for now, education is, as many people are now saying, is a scam, because they can't see the good that is coming out of it. So a lot of people go study up to university. Some have first degree, some have masters, some have even PhD, and they can still feed. And so you are here worrying about trying to give children food so they can go to school. Those who have gone to school haven't seen the reward that comes out of it, because we are not building industries. We are not even giving them good quality education that enables them to translate what you are telling them in classrooms into good quality life. So why are you
But
wasting
doctor,
time trying to feed them?
baseline, we are really asking the question of, is a school feeding program the solution to out of school children in Nigeria? Because I mean, using food as a bait to be able to have children back in classrooms who have to probably hawk and do other things to help their families, the baseline of using this as a as a program to foster education, I don't think it really balances out.
We don't have evidence that supports government's thinking on this, because there are more problematic issues involved in why you have a lot of out of school children in Nigeria. The security challenges in the northeast of Nigeria is not going to disappear just because you give children free food. So attend to security, so that good quality teachers will also move into those regions and be in classrooms to make education pleasurable. As we speak, good quality teachers are unwilling to go and serve in the states in the northeast. And in fact, in most of northern Nigeria, good quality teachers are very averse to even going beyond Nasarawa, really. And so that's very problematic for us. So provide security, rejig security architecture, and ensure that those who have benefited from education truly can prove that education does, uplift and people, and help them to migrate out of poverty, and get elevated in society.
All right.
We haven't done much of that. People are not seeing the evidence that education is very rewarding. And so until we make education very rewarding, we are not going to be able to use merely giving people free food to get them into classrooms.
All right, very, very robust conversation we've had with you this morning, Dr. Peter Algudo, of course, an education specialist, I'd really like to say, of, different strong qualifications. Thank you so much for always trying to shape the narrative around education in Nigeria. It's been a swell time having this conversation with you this morning.
Enjoy the rest of your day.